Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today we have another game against Striker for you. This is 1v1 ranked, but I am not in the captain's seat. This is the Lieutenant Colonel Ario, also known as ID on the Bootcamp Discord server. And he sent me in this one because it was just, well, it was a really fun game for me to watch at the time, and I wanted to give you guys a rundown on how it went. So Ario is playing as Entente Mech, a very powerful, very popular coalition and spec. Of course, you do get upbitted infantry. You basically use elite BVPs that perform way above their 15-point price tag, and you also have a fair amount of muscle with the tanks in this coalition, the M84A, of which there is a double stack already heading down, and into it looks like a triangle opener, which is the other reason I wanted to cast this game. I basically never do triangle openers. They are just, they're rather intense, and you can see already there's an L17K coming in, K52 from Striker, very, very valuable target. Really big dive here as well, so L17K going up into Soviets can be countered a lot of different ways, so that was a high risk but seemingly high reward maneuver right here as the K52 did go down. But I mean, let's take a look at Striker's opening here real quick just to see. So there's Factoria, MI8, MTV, and really a lot of the punch went this way. If there had been even a 30-point OSA on this side, that L17K may well have been stunned before it could even shoot at the K52, and as it happens this time it doesn't really look like it. There are openers, it looks like, going to both different, well, very different sides of the map, very different intentions with these openers. We're going to have to see which one is more powerful, as Striker's Anna defense is running up against an attack into Triangle and into Gregory, and usually I am more of a fan of the proactive openers. I think bringing a super heavy like what we saw there briefly from Striker's perspective into Anna is a really big investment, basically counting on encountering an Anna push, and if you don't encounter that, I mean, what do you do to stop double M84A? So we're going to find out. We're going to see here. Now, Striker is a little bit famous in wargame circles for playing a very defensive USSR game, where he's basically looking for you to make mistakes. He's going to try and take advantage of them, and we go from there. But we have already seen a PD buy that's 100 points in the air. There's already been a K52 lost, which is, what, 130 points, I think? Something like that. So generally speaking, I think Ario's trading well. We're going to have to see if that continues here, as there is an ATGM in that section of town, and I mean, I've never seen somebody enjoy Hellcats more than Ario does. Personally, I think they're just on the edge of overpriced, but keep in mind that 100 km/h off-road speed is very nice for a 10-point tank when, well, I mean, tankette, I guess. Now, we do have one thing here that is a little bit on the ruder side from Ario, the Hera 2 coming into the back end of Dmitry. People do this a lot. It's just, you know, have base defense. I do kind of feel bad for Striker with this a little bit if it does get in, but, you know, people do this, and particularly on this map, for the Red Force side, it's very common to see blue take a recon helo all the way around the outside and then park it sort of back here above the water, and they'll spot your fob. Everything here is in the open pretty much, so, you know, it's a lot of, this is a map for base defense, is how I'll put it. And I think Ario probably should get, probably not a Spat Folka, but yeah, I mean, if he has a BVP and a Manpads team, that's a perfect base defense unit. You put the Manpads team on one side, the BVP on the other. BVP will shoot down helos or at least get you some vision. Hera does see the fob. Man, that's so rude. That's so rude. And I guess as this gets underway, I do have to point out, you know, we're 3 minutes in, there hasn't really been a big push yet. Ooh, Kamino Ottolinia spotted. CV infantry marked, Hera 2 does die. Yeah, I mean, so Striker should move that, but otherwise not a huge loss here, and this is the Striker special. So MI8 MTVs times 2, the 29 TB, all this stuff, and yeah, they get good kills, man. Proletary, Prusinici, more Proletary, all this sort of stuff in the open. That's a fair amount of value, and these guys will even kill BVPs at range, so not able to really get anti-air range here, and that's a pretty good amount of trading for Striker. I mean, that's a fair amount of points. It's, what, 30 points from the Proletary, another 20 from the Prusinici, 50 total, plus both of the BVPs. That's another 30 besides, so 80 points basically for free. And now you guys can probably see why Striker does this sort of mobile helo squad. It can be very annoying to deal with, and unfortunately that Spat Folka just a little bit too far behind have prevented that. Would have been very nice to have that up and forward before the Proletary and the Prusinici got out into the open, especially if it was almost there. I mean, just waiting another couple seconds before going in, and the Folka would have gotten revenge and even prevented a lot of those losses. So Hellcat just moving forward, moving back. He's trying to see if there are any more ATGMs here. And on the right-hand side, the other thing I'd say, we saw from Striker earlier, let's take a look right now. So, okay, the UM's no longer over here, but look at this. Double Sapri, double BTRT, Motostrelki, BTR90. That's a lot of expense. These guys, this is a 40-point card right here. I get the feeling if you see a triangle opener from Striker's perspective, yes, he's moved the UM, but these Sapri need to be pushing into Boris. There needs to be forward movement on that side. All that's in the way are a couple of Motostrelki and Oat 62As. If they push down and forward and he has good support there, I mean, yeah, there's way more an investment from blue than red on that side of the map, and that's where none of the fighting is taking place. So effectively, Striker's fighting with, well, maybe not a full hand behind his back, but certainly some fingers, just because he's investing a lot into a position that's not seeing anything. And on the other side, I mean, there is Graniciari here, there is a little bit of Motostrelki here, but really nothing reinforcing in until may even push, now that there's an advantageous situation for red and Gregory. So the Hellcat, oh man, hit the UM. Oh, that's so goofy. Side armor shots, man. Side armor. But yeah, I mean, this is a really forward position in Gregory for red. It's a bit of a stranglehold. Infantry in here are going to make this really tough to keep hidden. Almost would have liked to see recon infantry in here, though, instead of the proletary, just so they can spot that little bit further. And you can see Striker basically has no choice but to constantly smoke, or all of this is going to be spotted. So I do just want to say, if you like these sorts of games, if you like seeing ranked, if you like seeing 1v1, if you like seeing community casts, then please don't hesitate to leave a like, share, subscribe, all that stuff on this. And we did just have Conqueror's M take out that T80 UM, side shot, dead right there. That's why the Conqueror's M is so valuable with its high AP missile. 23 AP to the side armor is going to be a lot of damage coming in. And that's a really expensive loss for Striker as well. So at this point, if I was in Ario's shoes, I'd be feeling pretty good about this. We have a forward position in Gregory, kind of middling position in Boris, but as I suspected earlier, that Motostrelki is going to be pushing up and over the top, and now it will have to contend with the Sapri and BTRTs in the high ground there. That is a nice defense. It's just coming into play 7 minutes into the game, 700 points of income later, for an 80-point blocking unit of those Sapri and BTRTs. So that's sort of the reasoning there for why it's not necessarily what I would do, not necessarily what I would like to have. And we do have the Bavonka up now from Striker and land on the Bavonka. 10 HE, 4 rounds, relatively slow reload and aim time, but very, very powerful when it hits. So I think he's just looking for that fob, unfortunately. So Striker's going to lose that fob there pretty soon. It's how the game is played, right? It's just how the game is played. There are some people who will send recon helos to your base in the beginning, and they don't care if they die because they'll kill your FOB, and that's a 75-point trade-off. It's worth it to them. Plus it denies your artillery and resupply and things like that. And I guess the mobile helo squad is back, but goodness gracious. You know, I almost want to see Striker's deck for this as well, because the Conqueror's M and the Drug, that's, you know, 2 cards of ATGMs right there, both powerful in their own right. The Drug is very nice, the Conqueror's M is very nice. I'm really curious what else he takes. So yeah, so we're seeing this right now, the Priscum Nietzsche, if they can get into this town with close-up ATGM support, this whole entrance into Gregory is going to become very tough. Very, very tough for Striker to push into, and this is Conquest, not Destruction, so you have to be thinking if you're Striker right now and you're pushed this far back, that things are looking a little bit grim. A little bit grim indeed. Yeah. Man, I always like watching Striker games because he plays so differently from how I do, and seeing that, even if I don't always emulate it, is something that I find really, really entertaining. A really big part of my enjoyment from this game comes from seeing all these different ways of playing it, even if it's something I recognize is not within my capability or my desire to do. So, plane coming in, and it looks like might be Seed. Yeah, SG-24. It's a nice pickup. Of course, it wasn't for free. There were 2 helicopters lost to the Spatfolka. It's not a card I take, by the way, the Spatfolka. I'm much more of a Salva guy myself, but you definitely lose a little bit of chip damage from not having the gun. I mean, an Entente or an Entente mech, I think it's a very powerful unit, just not everyone's cup of tea. So at this point, it looks like Ario's deciding, okay, well, maybe he doesn't want to go up top. He can just hold halfway here, and I think this is good logic. If Gregory's locked down and he can just cap Gregory, then if Boris is counter-capped, that's a +1 tick, that's a win. Maybe not the most decisive in terms of conquest points, but it doesn't need to be, right? You don't need to win a game by a mile. All you need to do is win a game by an inch. So CV buy, I definitely agree with it. You'll notice as well, too, something that Ario does that I don't always. He does have a screen over here. There's Podobranki 90 that did get into combat earlier. Past Praga, things like that. There's definitely some screening on the sides, particularly over on this left-hand side. I tend to leave that alone, and we actually saw me get punished for it a little bit ago when I didn't have anything to stop a couple of helicopters from causing me a lot of trouble in the late game. Well, there's more of a warning system here, and the Praga alone won't stop everything, but there's a Spatfolka in reserve, and it's this sort of caution that I did not display. It's that sort of caution that will save Ario a lot of trouble against somebody who played similarly to that fellow that was my opponent last week. So yeah, I think it's good cautious play. The other thing too, whenever you see USSR and whenever you see this sort of roving helicopter squad that always replenishes, just play slow, play careful, and when you see a Ka-52, kill it. Because that Ka-52 is what enables the helicopter squad to be as devastating as it really can be. So L-17K coming back out. Oh man, this looks just like the opener. Oh no. Yeah, gone. Boom. Oh my goodness. It's worth it. That's worth it. Every single time, that's worth it. Goodness gracious. Yeah, okay, I mean, he's lost to L-17K, but he probably takes 2 or 3, which is the same number as the Ka-52. So, you know, you go in, the first one got out for free, now they're trading down against cheap helicopter hunters. Well, not cheap, but maybe not too expensive. Yeah, this is brutal. This is brutal. Say pretty BTRT, but it's 11 minutes into the game. This is, you know, 1,155 points of income later for an 80-point blocking force that really needed to be used aggressively, I think, to wrest control of this. Because if we have this same game, but Boris is locked down for Striker, then it doesn't look nearly so bad for him, right? So you basically would have traded zones at that point, using that initial investment from Blue to get into Boris and to make this where Ario has to invest some of his points. And granted, there's some BVPs here, there's some Proletariat here, but I do not fancy even Entente mech against USSR in the Woods fight. I think that's really a big ask. Because keep in mind, the BMPT is a thing. BMPT will definitely slaughter BVPs quite a lot. Now, one thing that I would say as well, just in terms of unit choice deck composition, the BTR-90 is very, very powerful. But I think it has limited utility against a deck that runs BVPs, because 3 frontal armor and that M55 auto cannon, and, you know, 2 of them for the same cost as the BTR-90. It could have been it was from his opener, though. And some decks, I mean, once you get into a game, you can't change your deck, right? You can't think, oh crap, well in this particular matchup I really should have brought something else. So it could be just making do with the best that you can in that situation. But as you guys will notice, we only have about a minute or so left, so there is going to be a lot going on in that last minute. There's going to be a reason that this game ends one way or another. And I'm excited for you guys to see it. It was definitely something to watch. So as far as this goes right now, nothing is visible of blue to red. Nothing is visible of red to blue. It's just, oh my goodness. Usually in my games there's some low level conflict going on pretty much all the time. It's actually how I lose a lot of my recon. I'll get my recon way far forward, but nobody has any idea what's going on in this, and it's kind of hilarious. For all blue knows, red could have withdrawn, red could be prepping a push over on one side or the other, and vice versa. So we do see an MI-24 VP coming out, first buy of that 4-striker. I don't actually usually see him buy it all that often if his initial helicopters survive. It's just not something he will go for. And it looks like a big push down into this side of Gregory. T80 UM should be healed up before you start this big push. There was time for it, and if that Conkers gets a shot off here, oh no. Okay. There's the, no, taking on front armor, down to 5 strength. And this is why I like the Sava as well, that SU-24 is worthless. So, okay. T80 side armor, M84A, and that is another super heavy kill, and, I mean, immediate surrender there. So, don't doubt those M84As, man. All you need to do is get one positional advantage on a super heavy, and that 19 AP of theirs will scale up at shorter ranges, and even without that, it will pound into the side armor of those expensive tanks. So, L17K got a K52, M84A, wait, no, UM off the M84A, UM off the Conqueror's M. Yeah, this is what made the game right here. Oh man, such a rude Pavonka. Okay, well that's the community cast, that's the game for today. Hope you guys did enjoy it. It was a bit of a different pace from what I'm used to seeing, but I think it's just a really nice way of dealing with somebody that you know in advance, like Striker. You know what deck he's going to be using, USSR. You know kind of how he's going to play, which is defensively, cautiously. Helo squad is coming to kill your stuff. Just a very nice, very cautious game. Thank you guys for hanging around. We'll have another game for you real soon.